What is going on, everybody? It is episode 361 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We're back from the weekend. We're almost at 365 episodes, which means you could watch one episode of Pop Culture Crisis for an entire year.
I demand that people go through and do their own, I'm going through a rewatch, and they rewatch every... Well, no, they wouldn't be able to rewatch every episode because we weren't live on all 365, so they could watch clips from 365 episodes.
All the episodes are on Spotify, though.
Yes, you could go back and listen to a year's worth of Pop Culture Crisis if you wanted to.
If you're crazy enough.
to do so. And speaking of which, we're about to hit 60,000 subscribers, guys. So if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And remember to hit the like button on this video. Turn the notification bell on once you hit the subscribe button, please. And also remember, all Super Chats, $20 and over today. We will interrupt our discussion and we will get right into your question. We'll ask it, we'll answer it, and then we will try to get right back on topic.
It doesn't have to be a question. You can just add to the pudding fund or...
I love the pudding fund.
Disagree with us or any number of things.
Disagree with you. I'm far too milquetoast.
People
to
have
be
disagreed with you.
But
people disagree.
They're probably like, yes, Brett, you're not being hard enough on these people, right? It's usually what it is. It's something like that.
It's hard to recall.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. MrBeast is once again proving himself to be the Antichrist to a lot of people because he dares to help those who suffer from either conditions or who may be less fortunate. He has helped 1,000 deaf people here, aided in helping them here. And this article from The Independent is basically this weird semantic beatdown of MrBeast that basically says, hey, it's great that you're doing good stuff and all, but you're not doing good stuff the way I want you to, therefore you're a bad person.
It's not even granting that he's doing anything good. He's saying MrBeast is actually hurting deaf people on the whole.
Yes.
More than helping them.
That's the world we live in now. It's people, it's not enough to just do something nice. You have to do something nice exactly the way other people requested. Otherwise, you're a bad person. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Richard Dreyfuss. You may know him from Mr. Holland's Opus. I know him from Beethoven. Of course, the movie Beethoven. He has said that he has his own thoughts on the recent Oscars diversity. You okay over there?
Yeah,
you okay?
Sorry,
She's okay.
I've been yawning a lot.
I'm boring, guys. It's okay.
It's you know those
videos where they show it's 3 hours of rain on windows and storm videos on YouTube. I used to use those to fall asleep.
And you're just cozy.
Yes. It's now it's just gonna be 3 hours of me talking and it'll put anyone to sleep. That's
no.
My voice is far too grating for something like that. So Richard Dreyfuss has said that the new Oscar diversity quotas make him, quote, want to vomit. So we're going to discuss that. Also, Taylor Swift is in her problematic era, right? No?
Yeah, she's in her problematic white boy era. She's rebounded from her ex-fiance, Joe Alwyn, with Matty Healy, who is notoriously problematic. And I'm loving watching the outrage from her fan base.
Exactly. So we're gonna talk about that. And then we are going to go through... We read a BuzzFeed article, and BuzzFeed agrees with us about some of the problems that Hollywood has, that movies have. So we're going to go through this BuzzFeed article, and we're just going to kind of freestyle and just read it as we go.
Yeah, we're chill.
Yeah, we're going to have it's a very chill Monday. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day today. I assume that some people are either at work or covertly listening at work. I've had jobs in the past where you have headphones and you go like this so they can't see your headphone while you're
That's more of a
working.
high school trick.
Yeah,
right?
That works too. Yeah. Yep. So we got a bunch of stuff to get into. So if you're ready, Mary, we will get started.
I'm ready.
All right, let's get into it. First things first, and this is something I am very pleased to share with you guys. The trailer for Oppenheimer from Christopher Nolan is out, and it's actually, I'm going to put it in the screen here. It's really, really good, guys. I want you to go and check this out after today's episode if you have not gone and watched this already. I don't know if this is his first movie with Universal after his falling out with Warner Brothers. I don't know what other studios
What's the falling out about?
There was a bunch of problems regarding the release of Tenet because it was going on during COVID, and he got into a lot of back and forth with studio heads and stuff like that, and said, I'm going to go, because he didn't want them to release it on streaming so quickly. and basically said, I'm going to go where my work is appreciated. So he went over to Universal.
Okay.
So guys, go check out this trailer. My favorite part of it, I think, is it does a really good job of building tension through the use of the sound of a Geiger counter. That's the
I wouldn't have noticed that
the
myself.
that clicking you hear at
Yeah.
the beginning. That's a Geiger counter, and that's the sound effect that they use to build a lot of tension. And it's not tension; it makes it unsettling. The sound effect in and of itself is unsettling, and it does a really good job. And oh yeah, somebody mentioned Oppenheimer. I saw that meme.
Yeah.
I saw that meme.
I posted that on my story over the weekend. Love the.
It made my hair look
Poster
like
you
Gen
guys
Z
made.
influencer perm hair.
I thought it was because you were wearing a hat.
Well, I mean, because it's the explosion,
Right?
but it looks like Gen
Oh.
Z perm hair.
Just a nuclear mushroom cloud.
Yes,
on your
mushroom
head.
hair cloud.
That's the Zoomer style now. I hear.
It was.
This trailer though,
Yep.
I'm not sure how to feel about it. It didn't exactly. I mean, I'm gonna watch it because it's an interesting concept, but the trailer wasn't all that exciting for me. I'm wondering whether the movie is gonna be patriotic or more of an anti-American theme.
See, I think it's going to be patriotic because here in America, the only time you're allowed to be patriotic is when it's against the Nazis. So the fact that it was the Manhattan Project and we're racing to out-nuke the Nazis, is that out-nuke the Nazis? Somebody should make a song.
Well, see, it's like, yeah, the nuclear arms race. I don't like that we can't be pro-America just for the sake of being pro-America.
Nope. Not allowed.
I guess Top Gun kind of achieved that at its own time. Top Gun Maverick even intentionally toned down the patriotic vibes
Yeah.
and American imagery.
Well, I think everyone should go. I mean, it's got a lot of like, I will say there was one line in this trailer that really stood out to me as cringy, and that was the one who's like, it's the most important decision of all time. It sounded very ham-fist.
No one at the time that it's happening is conscious of that, or maybe they are, but they don't verbalize it like that.
Yes.
You know,
like it was the way he said it.
Matt Damon was annoying in the trailer. I'm sorry, I don't like Matt Damon's acting that much. What do you think?
I like Matt, but I love the Bourne movies, so I'm like
Those are good.
I'm partial to
It's
and I
less
love,
of him talking.
yeah, and I love Good Will Hunting. So
He just-
like
in the trailer, I didn't exactly like Matt Damon's lines, but
no, he got kind of the shaft of being like, he was unintentionally like, that line was kind of over the top and comical, and then the one where they do the line where he's basically like, there's almost zero chance it destroys the world. Like
near zero.
like that line it's played for comedy, but it's not really.
And we're like, ha,
Yeah, like
because nukes could destroy the world.
Isn't
It's so funny.
it's a knee slapper, isn't it?
I mean, it
Thanks,
does raise ethical questions.
Thanks, Robert. So I guess this is the building of the Manhattan Project. And all the work that went into wherever it was, at Los Alamos or wherever they went to do all this work. It's a very well edited. I disagree with Mary on this. I do think it's a very effectively made and edited trailer. So I do recommend everyone go check this out when they get a chance after the show today, of course. And also, guys, womp, womp, womp. Blade has been delayed because of the writer's strike. That's too bad. It actually is too bad. But yeah, it says it's forced to delay and shut down pre-production on Blade, which was set to begin filming next month in Atlanta. They recently just got the guy who did True Detectives, the writer of True Detectives, to take over this movie, and then the writer's strike, and now nothing. Which is also interesting because I don't know how much the guy who created True Detective, and maybe somebody in the chat can help. It's Nick Pizzolatto. He wrote all of season 1 of True Detective himself with nobody else, and then directed all the episodes, if I remember correctly. And then he had help with the writers in season 2, and nobody liked season 2, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
And then season 3, I don't know how involved he was, but season 3 had Mahershala Ali on it, so maybe that's why he's agreed to come on board, because maybe he's worked with him before.
Okay.
So we'll see where it goes, but
Well,
it is now shut down because of the writer's strike.
So he's the director on it, not a writer.
Yes, it's it says no, he's the new writer, not director.
Oh well,
so, yeah.
I mean, just do a True Detective all over again. Do it all yourself.
Yeah, well, he'll have to
show the writers who are striking
and
that
just write it anyways.
they are expendable, right?
Well, he's part of the same union, so he would have to write, or he would have to strike. because he's part of the
Well,
same
I thought
union.
that it's like you said, all of the best writers are still going to be working.
Yeah, but putting in work is not the same as like, okay, it's like you can keep writing a script, but it's just you can't actually act on it and put it into like who's going to actually prove that you like who's going to actually be able to prove that you wrote it at this point. I suppose there might be timestamps on your Word documents that might show that you wrote it.
People are
at a
like
certain
installing key loggers
Yeah.
and writers
Could happen.
devices.
You never know. Also, guys, remember that Hollywood has picked the weirdest cause of all time to die as the hill that they're going to die on, and that's drag queens. This is Healy Kiyoko has been threatened with a lawsuit for bringing drag queens on stage in Tennessee. They just can't help themselves.
She said that she was doing sound check in Nashville and was advised by local law enforcement that having a drag performance at her all ages show could result in legal action. They warned us not to bring any drag performers on stage. I was shattered, as you can see in the videos I recorded reacting to the situation in real time before the show started.
Yeah.
I think that the cops were saying that because of like private lawsuits, not action from the state. Because the law
otherwise they would arrest her.
It's not law yet.
Yeah.
I think they passed it, but then they went back on it because the judge wants more specific wording.
Yes.
So it's literally not even enforceable yet. So this story doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is just a warning about private lawsuits, possibly.
Why is this the hill that everybody's dying on? It's so weird.
It's this and the trans issue, but I think that's just the logical conclusion of all the transhumanist propaganda.
Yeah. And in the chat,
makes sense to me.
Adrena says Brett skipped. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Says Brett skipped over this one last week. Yes, we were going to mention this story. I was gonna mention on Friday, but I forgot about it, and so we can talk about it. And it's the only thing I know about Healy Kiyoko, if I remember correctly, she had a song on one of Adoseph Buckley's top 10 worst songs of some specific year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just know that she was in Lemonade Mouth on Disney, I think. That's the only thing I know her from. And this is the same thing that Maren Morris did, and Kelsey Ballerini did in Nashville, where a bunch of stars that tour there are bringing drag queens on stage to, defy these oppressive laws against drag, which aren't laws against drag. They're laws against showing drag to children.
Yes.
So if you have an all ages show and you want drag queens to be there, just make it 18 plus. I don't know what's so complicated about that.
Well, I mean, we do know it's so complicated about it because they're creepy.
Yeah. The things that people will fight for the hardest.
Also remember, guys, that Jenna, and also let's talk about this. Jenna Ortega, she became the unwitting victim of a bunch of pushback because they're mad during the writer's strike because they're all upset that she's a better writer than them, apparently.
I guess it says that she was made a scapegoat on the writer's strike picket.
Yeah, because of her rewrites for Wednesday. So, like, one of the pictures, I think I still have it up here.
I mean, they were mocking her for making last-minute changes to the script of Wednesday when, if you look at the comments she made, those changes were absolutely necessary.
Yep.
Like, this is what's so frustrating about the writer's strike, is these people think that they are insoluble, but they are writing cringe, garbage content that needs to be changed last minute because it doesn't make sense for the characters, and they don't care about the source material that it comes from.
It's not just the editor's or the writer's fault; it's the editor's fault for not asking for rewrites and not.
Still, but how
changes.
does that even get past? How do you even type that out and take yourself seriously as a writer? The lines that she was talking about was like, Wednesday walks up to a prom dress at a store and says like, OMG, I love it. Or something like, oh, I'm sorry, Wednesday Addams said that?
Apparently.
It was just like the cringiest shit that pays no attention to context.
Well,
and needed to be changed, maybe not by Jenna Ortega, but somebody needed to step in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The editors didn't do their job either.
Yeah.
They did not step in and make the changes that need to be made. I wonder if those editors are out there picketing.
And in response to this, from the Hollywood Reporter talking about Jenna Ortega's comments. They said the Hollywood Reporter's parent company, Eldritch Industries, has stake in media conglomerates like Netflix and A24, and the CEO of that company, Todd Bailey, is the sitting CEO of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association.
Funny how that works.
Interesting connections that we're making here. And then we also saw this video over the weekend of Pete Davidson distributing
This might be the
ZA
cringiest
to
of all.
the Writers Guild
Like,
strike.
at least when Jay Leno brings donuts, it's like it's reminiscent of the old writers' strike. Like he did that before.
Well, yeah, he was there. You
So
know.
here we go.
Recording today?
Of course. I got Spavoni for
My
Right. Tell us why you come
my manager said this would be fantastic optics. Here's some pizza.
out, Mr. Davidson.
gotta support the writers, man. No writers, no shows without the writers.
All right.
No shows without the writer. No writers without the shows.
It's like ChatGPT wrote that line for him.
No, he literally is saying it like it came from a script that was given to him before he did this.
Well, yeah, but because there's no writers to write the script, they had to have ChatGPT write it. That's what's going on. Oh my gosh, it's so nice of you, Pete. It's so
Also, that chick
fantastic.
is cringing me out.
Yes. Should we show? Let's show. What's cringier today? Her being rude, Anne Hathaway being rude, or Tom Cruise?
I think these are two polar opposites in Hollywood right now.
Yes.
Let's just react to this.
Okay, here we go.
You're sitting next to Anna Wintour at the Michael Kors show where you recreated that look. Have you guys ever spoken about the movie? From there? Yes. And what has she shared? Why would I tell you? Because I'm a fan and I need to know. I know, but you weren't there.
Like that
Only
laugh.
you weren't there.
That laugh was kind of like to cover up the fact that she realized she had just said something very, very rude.
I don't know. I think she was laughing because she genuinely thought that her comment was funny. She's talking about The Devil Wears Prada, and the interviewer wanted to know if she had ever discussed that movie, which was basically a hit piece on Anna Wintour, with Anna Wintour.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you about it because you weren't there.
You're not part of the club.
Like, she has made a lot of passive-aggressive comments to
I'm here
media
for it.
before, but
I'm sick of celebrities pretending like they're one of us. If they're going to be vapid, stuck up, and superior, then at least act that way so I know to avoid you.
Well, that's not how you felt about Eva Green when she called the crew on her movie shitty peasants.
What did I say about that? Yeah, but that's in relation to other people that she's working with, not the average person.
Well, she's technically working with the media.
It's in this, and she won that lawsuit anyways. She ended up winning that lawsuit.
She did.
Eva Green ended up winning that lawsuit.
Unrelated to her being a bad person.
I don't even remember what I said about that. Like what?
Well, we were making fun of all the journalists who were responding to the Eva Green situation, saying like, "This is exactly what we want from our movie stars: is to treat us like shit." Like that. We were making fun of that take.
But was she? I guess the context I would add is like, does it matter? Like, has she ever spent any time pretending to be one of you or I?
I mean, probably.
Like, I don't know. I'd have to look into both Anne Hathaway and Eva Green and see how much time do they spend pretending to be normal like you or I, and then do they switch between the two?
The worst part about these stars is that they're more interested in being affirmed for their goodness than their talent.
Yeah.
So when they reveal themselves predictably to be bad people, it's not surprising. Anyone who puts that much effort into having a public image of like a saintly person.
Well, speaking of a saint, I have a Saint Tom Cruise over there, and he won an award this weekend at the MTV Movies and Television Awards, and he accepted it in a very unique way. I think we have the clip here, too. So here it is. It says, things we'll never forget. Tom Cruise's performance in Top Gun Maverick. Congratulations to Tom Cruise on winning Best Performance in a Movie in 2023 at the 2023 MTV Awards. They say awards, but it should say the rest of it. Otherwise, it's annoying. Stink bug right on the mic.
Oh, no.
Got it. All right, here we go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this award. I make these films for you. I love you. I love entertaining you. To know how much you enjoy it, how much you appreciate it, there's just no better feeling. And I hope you enjoy Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It'll be coming out July. It is a wild ride. You have a wonderful summer. Thank you again for letting me entertain you. It's an absolute privilege. We'll see you at the movies.
See you at the movies.
Tom Cruise rules, okay? And the best part is like he still gets his promotion in there. Every time he says something like that, he's like, and thank you for going to see Top Gun Maverick at the movie theaters. I know he's selling me a product. He's selling me his grace and his kindness, and I'm buying it every step of the way. But he also had another one for the king.
I think that he knows what he's doing when he's pushing back on the norm in his industry, which is detesting the audience.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that that's the norm and that we enjoy something pushing back on it, which is like, thank you for letting me entertain you, which is a bizarre phrase.
No, I think that's fine. It's like, what he's saying is like, look, you guys spend your hard-earned money on this. Like, thank you for allowing me to be the one to entertain you. If you're spending your money, you're putting your money where their mouth is.
Yeah, I guess it's just the way that he phrased it. It was just funny to me.
Yes. Well, he also has stuff to say about the coronation, which I didn't watch any of this weekend because, you know, I'm American.
Yeah. Not very patriotic of him.
No, not at all.
Pilot to pilot, Your Majesty, you can be my wingman anytime.
Now, if only it had like the MTV award like fall.
I wonder if King Charles fangirled when he saw this clip.
Probably.
They played this at the concert after the coronation, right?
Yep.
I saw some moments from the coronation. One was Prince Harry looking super awkward and miserable there, and then when he sat down at his seat, I believe Princess Anne's hat had a feather that was sticking up from it that covered his face the entire time from the camera angle.
Awful.
He looked totally out of place.
There was also somebody who they said looked like Meghan Markle wearing a fake mustache and glasses.
What? You're making that up.
No, I'm not. Hold on, I'll find it. I had this pulled up earlier.
Making that
it doesn't look anything like her, but they said
she had very important LA things to do, I'm sure.
Like, let's see.
They also had a choir there with sneakers on. Seems rather informal.
Here it is. It says Meghan Markle did attend the coronation, but in disguise, claims royal fans.
Who is this? Who is this man?
Sir Carl Jenkins.
Oh, come on.
Looks just like her. What are you talking about?
This is not a real person.
Could totally
you're
be
kidding
her.
Me.
Could totally be her right there.
Wow.
Yes. Incredible. So she really wanted to go.
Huh.
She needed to go.
Or
All
somebody.
right.
They could have gotten her Madame Tussauds.
Oh, also, guys, if you wanted more bad news about Rings of Power, they have to finish season 2 without showrunners on set because of the writer's strike.
How is that even possible?
Who cares?
It's just going to be such a dumpster
hilarious.
fire.
It's going to be so much fun.
I didn't even know why they delayed filming it this long anyway.
They haven't. It's been filming since November.
Well, I know, but they should have been filming it before season 1 even released. They're already contractually obligated to do like 5 seasons.
I mean, I don't know if that's tied to the fact that they knew that they wanted to move locations for cost purposes, and maybe it took time to get permits in the UK because it was being filmed in New Zealand and they moved production to the UK. So there could be a longer process for film permits and getting everything. They literally have to move all the equipment over to England. So yeah. All right. What would you like first? Cringe or cute of the day?
Let's go with cutes of the day.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started here. Cute of the day.
There are multiple.
First things first, Jay Dennis on Twitter sends this in. This is Aria.
I love when cats do the laser eyes.
Those are very lasery. Oh, wow, those are amazing. It's giving Bucko.
It does kind of, yeah, this
In fact,
resembles Bucko.
speaking of which, there's Bucko right there.
I was talking to Bucko earlier today. He was in good spirits.
Look at him.
Trying to steal my food.
That is my favorite Bucko picture that I've taken in a very long time. And I was only able to get him to look that way because Brian was like walking through, so Bucko was looking at Brian, which gave the appearance that Bucko was making, wide eyes.
Cats always know when you're taking a picture and sabotage it on purpose.
Exactly. Let's do one or two more here. We've got this one from Chris Bertman.
Oh,
hello. Yes. Eenie.
Bert dog.
Bert dog. I like the scarf. Is that what that would be called? A scarf?
Bertman, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Your dog has nothing going on behind those eyes. Ears bigger than its brain. Love it.
And one more. This is Nebula. Staffy. It's a
Nebula?
Nebula. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool name.
Yeah. Oh, that's adorable. It says, my Staffy Nebula at the wholesalers when she used to come to work with me. That's amazing.
You can get your dog to come to work with you?
Take your dog to work day.
Is that a thing?
I think
we were gonna do that here. We were gonna have a pet day.
I can imagine that being hard for people with like allergies.
Yeah.
Like even Bucko, I get a little bit of allergies.
You just gotta desensitize yourself.
Yeah. All right. Let's do cringe of the day, Mary.
Yes. This one is just, I have no context for you. I have nothing.
Okay, here we go.
I got arrested at the airport last week. Apparently security doesn't like when you call a shotgun before entering the plane.
What?
Just the lingering.
Oh, that made me really uncomfortable.
Do you guys call shotgun when you're about to go in the plane?
Oh, that one made me
Get the
uncomfortable.
co-pilot seat.
That's, even though she's trying to make it uncomfortable,
She's good at it. This is why I say, like, maybe women aren't good at stand-up.
But they can be funny in other ways.
In other ways, I think they're good at doing, like, short-form content and stuff like that.
All right. I say then, Mary, we just get right into it. Are you ready to get started?
I think so.
All right. So, MrBeast. MrBeast is once again in the news. Every few months, he does a story. We've actually covered quite a few of the things with Chris Tyson, all that stuff.
Yes.
That is not this. We're back on to topic as far as MrBeast and what he does for a living, which is just a weird form of capitalism philanthropy, right? Like
someone commented,
capitalistic
MrBeast helped deaf people gender transition. Real, by the way.
Yes. It says, deaf people like me deserve better than MrBeast's latest piece of inspiration porn. That's their words for it.
The inspiration porn he's talking about is a video that MrBeast put out called 1,000 Deaf People Here for the First Time.
Also, I put in the chat, guys, I asked you a question. I said, is MrBeast a philanthropist or is he the Antichrist?
Because there's nothing in between.
I would imagine that the better version of it would be, is MrBeast helpful or is he exploitative? And I do think that the answer here is that you can be both a philanthropist and have capitalist ambitions, right? It's not that hard when you're doing something like this. In a world full of people doing bad things for money, what's wrong with people doing good things while also making money in addition?
I don't think that it's even possible to do the right thing for purely the good intentions. Everyone has mixed intentions in doing the right thing, right?
Exactly. There's nobody in the world that's actually 100% in favor of doing things for other people with no gain.
They're asking MrBeast to quite literally be Jesus Christ. And I'm sorry, you're going to continue to be disappointed if you're asking for perfection from imperfect people. And from what I can tell in the video, he is doing a good thing. So he donated these hearing aids that I guess are some updated technology to 1,000 deaf people in a lot of different countries. He went to like Brazil, Guatemala, Mexico, pretty much all over the world, and like did a count of all the people. He donated $10,000 to them as well. Well, that's in a few situations.
That's the most annoying. Yeah,
gave one of them a jet ski just cause.
Yeah.
And like this is perfectly what you would expect for MrBeast's content. I don't like he recently did that video helping blind people see again. Yep. And I guess the criticism here is that oftentimes when deaf people get a hearing aid, it's not a fix-all solution for them.
They're mad that it's being
Are you mad that it's a
shown-
fix-all solution for some people? Is that what you're mad about?
What they're mad about is the fact that it doesn't show all of the struggle and work that goes into making stuff like this work. But this isn't reality. This is TV. It's just TV and the internet.
How would you do that in a 6-minute video? And by
can't.
the way, the
They
way that
fundamentally want
MrBeast
different
pumps
content.
out content in a digestible format that's like highly edited, that has a clickable thumbnail, the reason for him having the fortunes that he does to donate them is that content. So it's all a package deal. You can't have one without the other. He said, we got our hands on $3 million. And that actually just means like I gave away $3 million of my own dollars that I have from my YouTube empire, which doesn't exist without clickbait.
The person who wrote this article fundamentally wants content that is not this content. But nobody watches that content. I'm sorry. It may be more accurate to what your lived experience was as somebody who is deaf. There was also people that were partially deaf in there. I heard somebody say, I can hear again in my right ear, or I can hear again in my left ear, or something like that.
Yeah.
And what you want is, unfortunately, as good as it would be to get people to watch something like that, it's not going to have the mass appeal that content like this has.
And then how would you get people to continue donating their money or buying MrBeast's products, which would support more of that philanthropy to continue? It just doesn't make any sense. And this person said it amplifies the dangerous misconception that hearing devices such as hearing aids and cochlear implants are cures or fixes for deafness. They aren't. Now, maybe that's a misconception and it's widespread, and you could argue that the video spreads such a misconception, but what makes it dangerous? You're just echoing buzzwords that you've heard before from other activists. It doesn't actually mean anything. You're criticizing MrBeast for the sake of it because you're jealous, maybe, that you don't have as much power or influence. I know that a lot of people, given the chance, given the resources, wouldn't be doing the good that he's doing.
Yep.
They would be making the world a more evil place, which they do all the time.
Thank you. Look,
There are plenty of like shitty, slimy YouTubers out there to criticize.
Yep.
There's so many, but why do you choose MrBeast? You know?
It's funny because calling it inspiration, but it doesn't make somebody good or bad to watch content like this. It's just content for the sake of watching it. And the best you can hope for is that while making it, it does some good for people. But I love that there's a lot of skateboarders who are blind. There are legitimately skateboarders who skateboard while blind. And anytime I see a post from one of those, or the ones, there are skateboarders who have no legs that do it that literally do it with their hands. And I will always repost that. And I don't feel like that's exploitative. It's certainly inspirational content watching stuff like that. But is it exploitative to repost stuff like that? I don't think so.
He was like citing all of these other videos that he calls inspiration porn, and it's just odd to me because you're not recognizing that it's something that happened in real life behind the video, which was a good thing. Yeah. Someone who couldn't hear before chose that they wanted this aid of technology that helps them hear. That's a good thing. If people misinterpret it or use it for the wrong reasons, why call the whole thing bad? Why throw out the baby with the bathwater?
Because what they want, they don't want people to just care about their cause. They want people to care about their cause and their plight exactly in the way that they want them to care about it.
Like, you make the terms. But it's like, I'm sorry, MrBeast, the one who has all the money, who is making all of this change, he sets the terms. He's the one that is the reason any of this is possible. So he makes the terms for how it's done. If
he ends up making the content that this person wanted him to make, it's not interesting. It gets no views, and then
what do you want? Like a 3-hour-long documentary about it?
That could be made. That's just got to be made as a different type of content, and you can't complain when that type of content doesn't do the numbers that something like this does.
Right.
Nor does it make the people watching it bad or naive. I do wonder sometimes if people have forgotten the fact that like when you watch something, when you watch something on TV, you know it's fake because or it's scripted, right? And even reality TV, people have a general idea that what they're watching isn't 110% real. And I think a lot of people still have trouble realizing that just because content is on YouTube doesn't make it any less produced than something on television, right? So what you're watching is just fundamentally, it's made to be inspirational. It's not made to be overly informative. It's made to make you feel a certain way. And in that case, he's done his job. It's just that the person who wrote this article didn't want him to do that.
This is specifically being framed as Americans attacking MrBeast, and I don't know if like American has anything to do with it, since most of his audience that supports him is American as well. But they said, do Americans really feel that deaf people should remain deaf? If there is a solution out there for them? We live in what we call the best country on earth. Shouldn't people who can be cured of deafness be taken care of?
No, we live in a country that values
says,
individualism. You should not be forced to have that cure if you don't want it.
And this journalist says the video fails to properly emphasize the element of choice deaf people have around whether they want to use these technologies.
That's not the point of this video.
And you're right, it's not the point of the video, but it also doesn't fail in any way to make it clear that they're here by choice.
Yeah.
Of course they know what they're getting into.
MrBeast kidnapped them and brought them
What do you think? Yeah, do you think that he just went around Guatemala kidnapping people and throwing them in a white van and then dumps them onto a film set and then says, I'm going to force you to use a hearing aid?
Like, it's a fantastic alternate reality one that I want to see.
And then Elon Musk responded to this and said, people definitely shouldn't be attacked for doing good. Is it really just a question of money to restore hearing? I'm always looking for ways to donate money that are actually good. Perhaps this is one. It's very hard to donate money if you go about it doing actual good, not merely the appearance of it.
And the person is right that the culture around deafness is very, very different. It is very much to them a community and a culture, but that's not the point of this video.
Well, you using a cochlear implant or like a hearing aid doesn't make you not deaf anymore.
Nope, it does not.
It just means that you have something that helps you live your life. I don't know what's so complicated about it.
I could have signed up for it and got hearing back in my right ear, and then I could have had something to say on this. Then I would have been allowed to have something to say.
You're allowed to have something to say. That's always, anybody can.
The other part about this that's really annoying is he gets mad that he didn't spend enough time talking about American Sign Language, neglecting to mention the part where he does spend at least a minute talking about how right now American Sign Language or sign language is a way that helps millions of people communicate even if they can't afford or have access to stuff like a cochlear implant or a hearing aid. But they get mad that he doesn't spend more time on it and forget to mention that MrBeast pledged or sent $100,000 to various charities whose job it is to help proliferate the use of sign language around the world. So it's like nothing's good enough. Why would you ever listen to people if it's never good enough?
Yeah, I think that this attack is bad faith because he's calling it benevolent ableism, knowing full well that MrBeast is doing what he does out of a good intention in his heart. And you're not reaching out, you're just cry bullying. You're not reaching out to him specifically to like help him understand your point of view. You're using this article to talk down. He said, you don't have to be unashamedly abusive and discriminatory to be ableist. Sometimes even the most casual, well-meaning actions can be harmful to deaf and disabled people.
And we all know that this is the type of thing that promotes people just not helping anyone. Because why would you want to go take the risk of helping another person if you find out that you didn't help them in the right way and therefore you're a bad person? Why would anyone want to get involved in that?
Yeah, it's sort of like... I mean, there's a growing problem, I think, in this country where people think that they can't get involved. If you're a bystander to something.
Somebody's beating up a woman in a subway and you're just like, hey, I'm staying out of it. This is not my business.
Like if you live in New York City and you're on a subway and somebody is antagonizing people on the train. Can't get involved. It's a bad look. You could get in trouble on the internet. And
I think another part of it is like they take issue with the way he phrases things in his thumbnails because like remember curing blindness, which is really just it's a way of marketing. It's really good language that gets people to click on your videos.
Yeah, if you're criticizing that, you really have no idea. You would never get views on a YouTube video you put out if you're criticizing that.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing they've never made anything that's
They've never made anything,
Yeah.
period.
I mean, they've never made a YouTube video or had to figure out ways to phrase things.
They've never created anything. They just criticize.
Well, that's a certain segment of the population.
It's an
does that.
anti-culture.
Yeah.
I think also, not for nothing, I should mention, like, I think MrBeast gets attacked a lot because he's a cis straight white male.
Yeah.
I don't like using the word cis because it's just like he's not trans, but you know what I mean. He gets hate simply for being a straight white male on the internet and being successful, and people see that and instantly the resentment grows inside of them. They need to take him down.
And beyond just like what you mentioned about the thumbnails and stuff like that, when they say that he fails to properly emphasize the element of choice a deaf person has around whether they want to use them, that's an entirely separate video. Like, that's like, if you're creating content, you have to draw the line somewhere on how you make your content. He could make that video, but that's not really the point of his channel.
That's not what it's about.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You really do have to figure out where your lane is, what the content you want to create is, what you want to get people to feel. Every time you make a video, like he makes a video like that, what do I want people to take away from this? And the subject that this writer is talking about is interesting, but it's not what MrBeast does. So
yeah, I think that this is a tactic to, like, make sure that no one's attempt at being well-meaning is good enough so that they stop trying, which ultimately makes the world a worse place. MrBeast is just making wholesome content, and I am tired of seeing, like, live leak like ISIS killing videos on my Twitter timeline, and I'm tired of seeing violence and hypersexualization online. Sometimes, like, people just want to see a wholesome video that has no strings attached,
and that does not make them a bad person or shallow for wanting to watch that.
No.
Like, that's a lot of the stuff that I end up liking and watching on Instagram is all very, very wholesome content. I don't think that makes me a good or a bad person. It's just something that I like to watch. And I don't think you need to have, like, a better reason to watch it than to just enjoy something like that. If I have to be given the option between watching that or watching something bad, I don't think it makes a person any less of a good person to just choose that rather than watching something violent.
People who don't have the money always think that they know what should be done with the money, but you're not the one who has the money, so shut up, basically, is my point. And if they did have the money, I don't think that they would be using it for selfless reasons.
Or they would, and they wouldn't be doing it as effectively.
Right. The article ends with, here's the thing. Deaf people like me need hearing people to speak up alongside us, not just for us. In what way is MrBeast speaking for deaf people?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're into the
It's all semantics.
Yes. Yep. There's a $20 one right there.
Oh, from Deuce Boogaloo said, if you're on a subway in NYC or any blue city and you stop someone from being attacked, often you will be the one arrested and charged. That's why no one steps in. The dude who stopped beep is about to find this out.
Are we not allowed to say that guy's name?
I'd rather not.
All right. Yeah.
I was just alluding
I
to
saw some
that.
propaganda about that guy this weekend. Holy crap.
Yeah. I was alluding to that because it's a broader trend where everyone thinks that what makes you a good person is minding your own business. And that doesn't stop anywhere good. That's how, honestly, how greater human atrocities happen, is people looking the other way because they're minding their own business, staying moisturized and in their own lane, okay? Like,
did you hear that, guys? I'm basically going to bring about the end of civilization because I mind my own business.
I mean, philanthropy, by definition, is not minding your own business, right? It's looking for places where there is a need and trying to fulfill it.
But I get the individual's reticence to get involved in that when you go and do it.
That's a different situation.
And then when you go and do it and then find out that, oh, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
Like why would anyone want
It's
to?
always like, defend women. Oh, then
Not
you
that way.
try to defend women and then you're not doing it right.
Stop mansplaining
It's
to
the
us.
longhouse.
Why would anybody want to do that? I wouldn't want to do that. Like, there's a reason.
Dictating from the sidelines every time.
There's a reason why I get, like, if I donate to GoFundMe's or stuff like that, because there's no strings attached to it, and I can do that and not have to feel like I did something wrong. But is it the most effective way to help someone? Probably not, but I'd rather do something rather than nothing. But I also don't want to have to feel like I'm going to get lectured because I didn't help the right way.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's stupid. And for this case, look, we're in a world now where everything you watch, it feels like, is negative these days. And can we really complain about a guy making stuff that's worth watching? That's actually like kind and polite. And like, you watch that video and there's no, like, I do find the giving $10,000 away to various people to be a little bit like,
that was kind of a cherry on top.
Like, I find that to be a little bit like he knows his audience and he knows they love to watch people just get $10,000.
Yeah.
Like, but he knows his audience. And
in the literal briefcase of ones.
Oh yeah. It's like, he like literally just, he actually goes to a strip club with hundreds and exchanges them for ones.
What if MrBeast went and did a strip club video where he donates money to strippers? Then everyone would have no problem with that,
Dude,
right?
Neither would I.
Because he's supporting sex workers. But if you're actually helping people who are in need, then that's another story.
You know what he does? He goes and he helps the lunch shift strippers who don't make as much as the night shift strippers.
There are lunch shift strippers.
The day shift strippers are never as high end as the night shift strippers, and he goes and he donates money for equitable reasons to make sure that those day shift strippers get as much money as the night shift strippers.
I want to know if you think that a collab between Elon Musk and MrBeast is impending.
Them and PewDiePie all together.
PewDiePie probably wouldn't. He's more quiet on the internet these days.
He's like, you know what MrBeast should have done? He should have done a video where he reimbursed PewDiePie for all the stuff that got stolen when his house got broken into.
Yeah. In Japan, of all places.
Wouldn't that be great?
I thought that Japan had record low crime rates.
Well, yeah, not for Whitey. Like, they're gonna.
I guess not.
Okay, we got some super chats there.
Grofty said, peck the like button.
Yes, please.
You said tippity tap it. Didn't know how I felt about that.
Tippity tap.
Not a fan.
Why?
Just don't like it.
All right.
Wayward Soul said, inserts hearing aid. Nickelback playing in the doctor's office. Removes hearing aid.
Well, that would be a prank video. That would be that could be a prank video.
Evan Perry said, MrBeast could have hooked Helen Keller up.
Apparently, a lot of people are watching this show about Helen Keller being hid from the Nazis. Like,
what is the show?
A show. I don't remember the name of it. Kellen was watching it.
Kellen Heller?
Kellen, yes.
You know our coworker,
yes,
Kellen Heller?
Kellen Heller is watching that show.
I want to know if they address the Gen Z conspiracy theory that she actually had perfectly fine vision and hearing.
She was making it up.
That she was making it up all along.
That's a Gen Z conspiracy theory?
Yeah, have you heard of that?
No.
No?
It goes along with like
went viral on TikTok.
Like the same are the same people pitching that the same people who pitch Hollow Earth?
I don't know if Gen Z is into Hollow Earth.
Or Hollow Earth sounds like a very millennial conspiracy.
Maybe for Gen Z it's that the sun used
Oh,
to be
yes,
yellow.
I'm sorry. Anne Frank, not Helen Keller.
Okay, I was confused because like why would she hide from the Nazis?
Yes. Anne Frank, not Helen Keller. Hollow Earth feels like a millennial conspiracy. And now there's Hollow Moon, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know about that one.
Yep.
Isaac Martinez said, heard about a Vietnamese British TikToker when Yates Brown slammed a taxi driver for being racist. It was so sad. I hope the taxi driver is okay. Yeah, I love bullying and attempting to like dox the lives
strangers.
of precarity laborers who like are barely getting like having ends meet.
Let's do
because they're problematic.
Let's do one more and then we will move on.
Touchy Subject said, super chat to the fruition of bionic Brett ears.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Do you want bionic ears?
I'm good. I've never really. It doesn't. I don't notice it as much unless if I'm in a room with a lot of people, I tend to either talk too loud or too quiet. Like I can't modulate my voice well enough because I can't hear myself the same way other people can. And also if you walk along me, I will like move around to the other side so that I'm walking on the side of you that I can hear. So
Yes.
we'll be like walking. It's most noticeable in malls, which is a place where you walk straight for long periods of time. So I'll be like walking and then I like just casually walk to the other side for no reason and don't say anything. Yeah. All right, let's move on, guys. So, Richard Dreyfuss is in the news. This story broke at the end of the week last week. He is calling out the patronizing inclusivity standards that are being implemented for the Oscars. He says it makes him want to vomit. It's a very good choice
Quite
of
literally.
words. Quite
Said,
literally.
Makes me vomit.
Yes. So it says, I think we're in the end game now. Actor Richard Dreyfuss discusses restoring civics education and his fears for the nation's future. I didn't know he was such a big proponent of the Constitution.
He wrote a whole book about the undereducation of the younger generations in public schools about civics, which is an interesting thing that not a lot of people talk about.
I also love the framing in this article. This is a Breitbart article. It says, asked what he thought of the new standards, which are going into effect next year, the Oscar winner, who claimed to really love being an American, bluntly expressed his dismay. They make me want to vomit. I really loved being an American. It says
Yes.
he explained further that art shouldn't be governed by the latest moral fad. Because this is an art form, he said, it's also a form of commerce and it makes money, but it's an art, which is something me and you go back and forth on all the time. Like, where does the art end and the business begin for a lot of this?
I think that he's maybe focusing on the wrong things.
What should he be focused on?
I don't know. Like, is he claiming that there's some connection between... I don't know. The interview, when I watched it, it just felt very, like, disjointed.
It could have been cut up pretty severely.
He was throwing out a lot of opinions that didn't have any correlation with each other, but he also, like, brought up Othello and said that he would love to play Othello in blackface, and I was like, what?
Because he refers to the 1965 version of Othello where that was done.
But he said, that's part of the art form and basically endorsed it and said that he would love to do the same thing, which...
Men play women in the theater all the time.
That's true.
Yep.
But then there's also the discussion of, like, was that a mockery?
Well, yeah, like, is that, like, it's not, it doesn't qualify as a minstrel show, does it? Like, that's something completely different.
What do you mean?
Like, isn't there actual, like,
it's not
certain...
racial,
yeah,
obviously,
so,
but, I mean, yeah, his comment didn't exactly make sense to me.
So he says, he also argued that
he'd be destroyed if he did that.
He says he also argued one cannot legislate over the perceived slightings of others. Look, the art form is gonna suffer as long as we start attaching statistics and quotas for anything, right?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I think he just comes from a different generation in Hollywood where that wasn't a consideration.
Yep.
But if he made comments like this and he were younger, his career would be trashed.
Yep. I mean, yeah, but at this point, it says Laurence Olivier was the last white actor to play Othello, and he did it in 1965. Some teacher got fired for showing that in their class.
Where? In a college or in a high school? Yeah,
okay. So it says, in 2021, a China-born music professor at the University of Michigan was forced out of teaching a Shakespeare class and reported to the Office of Equity. Oh my gosh, the Office of Equity. Civil Rights in Title IX after showing the classic Othello to his class, which included students offended by Olivier's darkened skin.
Okay.
So he got in trouble for showing that film to people.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, because not everyone in Gen Z, Mary, is as based as you. Therefore, they got offended by it.
He said it's patronizing.
It is.
He says they're so fragile we can't have our feelings hurt. We have to anticipate having our feelings hurt or our children's feelings. We don't know how to stand up and bop the bully in the face. That's true. However, when I watched the interview, it was brought up in a different context where the interviewer said this in regard to like LGBT, quote unquote, LGBT books in kids' school libraries.
Yeah. And
he thinks that that's a matter of public free expression. And I think we all can find common ground here and say that there is no place for pornographic smut in children's school libraries, which is what has been found over and over again.
Yep.
I think that, once again, it's just like a generational thing that he doesn't realize that's a growing problem and believes that it's something else, but it wasn't explained properly.
Yep. Here's, I'm going to put up on screen. We all have our
blind spots.
Well,
I mean, another thing was he was like decrying the way that our political landscape has become so polarized, and each side is like throwing, spewing venom at each other. But then they brought up his old tweets about Trump where he's like using explicit insults and, you know, calling him an idiot and all of this stuff. And he's like, straight up, he gets asked like, well, isn't this you being guilty of the same thing that you're saying is a problem in the public discourse right now? And he was like, maybe.
He's like, I'm gonna pull up the rude ladder behind me. I get to be rude to people, but you don't get to be rude.
It was
to
some
people.
crazy thing that he said. I'm trying to find it right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up.
I won't repeat it until I figure it out.
Here are a list, guys, of the framework for the new Oscar diversity and representation quotas. So it says right here, standard on-screen representation, themes, and narratives. To achieve a standard A, the film must meet one of the following criteria. A1, lead or significant supporting actors. At least one of the lead actors or significant supporting actors is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. Asian, Hispanic, and they do use Latinx in there.
Really?
Yep. Black, African American, Indigenous, Native American, or Alaska Native. Middle Eastern, North African, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander, or other underrepresented race or ethnicity. I like how they couldn't think of any others, so they just gave up and just said, or any other. It says gender ensemble cast. At least 30% of all actors in secondary and more minor roles are from at least two of the following underrepresented groups: women, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ+. I love how they say women are underrepresented when we just on Friday covered a story where Netflix is now 60% led by women. You're lying and full of shit, you people.
So this year was the 94th Academy Awards, or 95th or something.
Yeah.
Only next year are they going to implement these rules.
Well, then by virtue, then shouldn't the general ensemble cast feature at least men, not women, if women are now the majority on things like Netflix?
But then they're saying that they're only going to subject the Best Picture nominations to these categories. Look, I read through them, and they're so sweeping and general that you could honestly meet these requirements without even trying to. But it's the exercise of actually trying to prove it, which is so oppressive. Like, the fact that we have this like nannying bureaucracy looming over an industry that's supposed to be about artistic expression, with a threatening kind of
do this or else.
Yeah, or else framing to it. And the fact that you need to file the paperwork to prove that you're following these guidelines in order to even be considered for nomination, that's the problem. I see it.
Wait, so
as the bureaucracy being the problem. Any of these movies that were nominated this past Academy Awards season, they probably fit all of these categories and more, like abundantly. But it's like the exercise of trying to make everyone submit the paperwork that I feel is like so much worse than the status quo.
Which
is just letting people naturally do what they're going to do.
Yep.
Like, inclusivity is already the norm in Hollywood. If not, like, affirmative action has taken us, as you said, in the over-representation direction.
Yep. So it says, main story and subject matter. The main story, theme, or narrative of film is centered on an underrepresented group, women, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or who are deaf or hard of hearing. Like, that is insane. Like, you're going to now legislate what stories can be told if you want to be. Like, this is born out of Hollywood's old obsession with literally doing stories about LGBTQ for clout, which is what they did for decades.
Look, they're still doing it. I mean, the storyline subject matter guideline makes zero sense to me, because how do you determine whether the theme or narrative of the film is centered on women? Yeah. It could just be a movie that's led by a woman, and you don't need to categorize it as the theme or the narrative being woman. That debases and dehumanizes women even more, to say that all of the stories that they lead are women stories and just throw them in that bucket over there.
It's also going to...
It otherizes.
It's also going to create a lot of resentment for people once these quotas are put into place for the people behind the scenes. I think that a lot of people are going to get hired, and they're going to be like, look, you got hired, but you got hired because of a quota. You didn't get hired because you were the right person for the job. Just by implementing it, even if they are the best person for the job, it's going to lead a lot of people to be upset about it. They're never going to be able to say anything because they'll be afraid of getting in trouble, but that's just going to foster bad relationships with people behind the scenes.
They're also creating minimums for underrepresented groups as casting directors, cinematographers, composers, costume designers.
What if you're
hairstylists, makeup artists?
What if you're a casting director and you want to cast a white guy, and they're like, "Well, we didn't hire you to cast white people. We hired you to cast non-white people." Because, oh my goodness, how could you possibly cast a white person if you're not white? Because they're the racists and they don't understand that that's not how normal people's brains work.
Right.
I also think that a big part of what was going on with Richard Dreyfuss is it's not just being from a different generation. There's such thing now as like terminally online, and I think a lot of these problems are the problems that are thought of by the terminally online. And people who just aren't constantly on Twitter just see the world differently. Like, he can say all those things and not see the hypocrisy, because even if he spouts some crazy stuff about Trump, as long as he's not sitting on his phone all day, it might not register to him the same way.
I guess so. I just I don't think that.
And this stuff is going.
He understands the climate that he's even talking to now.
And this stuff
it's
is
so
only
far
for
past salvageable. You know.
Oh yeah, well they don't understand that. Like, whenever I see people who are catching on to this stuff now, when they notice it in ads, when they notice it on television, I'm like, dude, we've been past saving. Hollywood has been past saving for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why people are pushing towards new media.
Half the standards that they've implemented now are mandatory. The industry access and opportunities one, they have a minimum for paid apprenticeships or internships, and then they also, standard D is audience development, which is about like people in the marketing departments also have to be from underrepresented.
And when you
groups.
hire someone based on what they look like, you're going to expect them to only know or care about stuff that is related to what they look like.
Right, which, as I said, is just as or more dehumanizing than just letting the industry operate as it is. I mean, that's not quotas and stuff. That's not how. That's not how the civil rights era went about things.
Nope.
It was about changing hearts and minds, right?
Well,
it's not about that anymore.
They think they can change. They don't care whether you actually believe it. They care that you comply.
Right.
They don't care if you actually believe in what they're saying.
That's the fundamental change, I think, that's like shifted everything. It's like, it's not about whether you think that you're doing the right thing. We're just going to force you to do it at gunpoint.
And because to a lot of them, it's power. It's not about actually helping other people, because they don't actually give a crap about other people. They just want power, and they just want the ability to control everyone else. And a lot of very shrewd people who are also evil have learned to attach themselves to good idea, or to bad ideas, I guess, but to what was once a noble idea has turned into authoritarian causes, and they've attached themselves to the authoritarian aspects of these causes, not because they want to make good change in the world, but because it allows them to take power over other people.
And this is just one phase in, I guess, a continuing like timeline of changes that the Oscars is implementing until some inevitable point where we decide we're diverse enough.
Well, I mean, that we all know that never comes. I mean, you would say that it's when there's no more white people, right? Like that's really what they want is that there's no more white people. It's because that comes from an American, because that comes from an American culture of self-hatred. That I noticed long before any of this stuff was going on. That, I mean, is it really hard to believe that they would want no more straight white men who make up the majority, or straight white people that make up the majority of this country, when for decades these people have hated being from America to begin with? There's always been this undertone of resentment from commie California and people like that who see anything not excessively progressive as evil. Mm-hmm. Like it was always going to end this way.
I'm just tired of women running society. Like that's what this feels like. It's just the professional managerial class, like post-menopausal women named Karen.
Allow me
to bulldozing all other considerations.
Allow me to take control of you, but do it from a cause about caring. I care about people, therefore I'm going to tell you how to behave.
Like this is what happens when women reach menopause without having kids.
Yep.
And not having progeny to worry about. It's like this hand wringing and anxiety. It really like just makes me like cringe. Like it makes me like recoil.
It will never go, and that's never going away. As long as social media exists, which is the format in which women do the best bullying, women are able to control the narrative because social media is how you shame people now, which is female centric. So this never goes away. Ever.
You just constantly have a platform to complain.
Exactly. And as long as that exists, this never goes away. Or at least I shouldn't say that. As long as studios adhere to what these platforms allow to be pushed, then yeah, this never goes away.
It's just a kind of a black pill.
Yep. I mean, I see it as a black pill, and I don't even really see what I was more excited about Richard Dreyfuss saying like he's a fan of the Constitution than the other stuff.
I mean, I don't even care about the Constitution anymore.
That made me...
I'm too depressed to care about the Constitution.
He says, I once worked for a guy who was making a film about the gangsters in the 30s. He replied, and I said, why did you change this incident and that incident from reality? Because the reality was so much more interesting than what you created, and by changing it, you made it simpler and smaller. I totally believe that you can make a great film or a great painting or a great opera out of the truth first, he said. Try that first, and then if you can't do it, then make up some nonsense. But don't tell me you can't do that. Or that history isn't that interesting.
Yeah, that was in response to a question that was just complete, like, word salad. Like, don't you think that we can use diversity to have a lens for a fuller understanding of where we were at in the past and, like, the movement toward the future and kumbaya?
Yeah.
Question mark? I didn't really understand that exchange at all.
But the person who said it doesn't understand it either, because it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything.
Representing the ugliness in the past is like the only way to recognize it.
If you lash yourself in the back as an American. All right. We got some super chats there.
Sketch Therapy said cures aren't the exclusive to faith. That's moronic. I don't know what that means.
I'm assuming that's in relation to the MrBeast topic. I don't get I'm sorry, man. I don't understand the.
And then said, if doctors cure cancer, is that satanic? Is it ableist? I don't know.
I mean, we were making the joke about MrBeast being the Antichrist because it was about like, will evil come in this form because he looks so good, right? Because he looks like he's being so noble.
Precisely because MrBeast is not charismatic
enough.
He has clearly he's just a vehicle for his philanthropic efforts. People are praising what he does, not him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which is better.
Yeah, keep the focus on the actual topic.
It's better than people praising him. I mean, we were talking about Logan Paul, right?
Yeah.
How he made that video where he pretended to like be colorblind for clickbait and put on these glasses that allowed him to see the sunset for the first time, but lied about it, and was like crying and shaking. That you can say is like
evil,
benevolent ableism, or you can say
not even benevolent. That's just evil.
It's some kind of like cheap trick.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually help anybody.
Yep.
This is totally different, and in a different era of the internet where we're a lot less gullible, I hope.
You'd think that, but I don't even know. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when people watch this video from MrBeast, I don't know if they realize that it took 4,000 hours to edit to make it look this way. And they do that because they want the content to help evoke a certain emotion from you. And that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's getting harder and harder for a lot of people to tell because quality has gone up so high on the internet now.
Spaghetti Warrior 66 said, we gave up on Under the Dome. I like shows set in small towns. Is Wayward Pines good?
Yes.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed Wayward Pines. I also recommend checking out Jericho. If you have not seen Jericho yet, that I believe is on the same platform. They're both on, it's either Paramount Plus or Peacock. Paramount Plus. That's another one that I would have to recommend that you go and check out. I really, really enjoyed both of those. Also, unfortunately, another one that got canceled like after a couple of seasons.
I fell off of Wayward Pines when they started showing the weird like teenager breeding farms.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I don't like even thinking about this. But I think I should go back and finish it because there's like a cool episode people have posted about that comes later on where the one guy like unfreezes himself every 100 years.
Yes.
To like check on things. I
wonder if there's if they got inspiration from that from an X-Files episode.
It's a cool concept.
Yeah, so I do recommend checking that out. Also, if you can find Revolution anywhere, Revolution was a Billy Burke show from like the same, like that Jericho and Wayward Pines all kind of came out within 3 to 5 years of each other. So
this isn't a recommendation, but over the weekend I did finally watch The Dropout on Hulu about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a funny thing to me. I mean, I think it drags on too much and like dilly-dallies too much. I like wanted to get to the juicy stuff. But it's so funny to me that like we as a society just totally fell for it because we wanted to have like a girl boss in lipstick on the cover of Forbes. Like we're so stupid and embarrassing as a society.
We want Steve Jobs, but with tits.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. With like put lipstick on Steve Jobs.
Well, have you seen the thing where she like makes her voice deeper to sound more like Steve Jobs, and she wears the turtleneck and maybe she inadvertently.
There's like a weird part at the beginning where she's like, I feel like she's about to like kiss a poster of Steve Jobs on her wall, but she doesn't.
Well, that would have been more interesting.
Like, okay.
that would have been a more interesting story.
Grofty said moisturize. What the heck? LOL. You haven't heard that before?
It's a phrase.
Just in your lane, unbothered, in your lane, moisturized, and in your lane. High Voltage 75 said, Brett, are you still watching the Terminator movies? Curious to know what you thought of Salvation.
I have not seen Salvation yet. I need to find, it's not available on any streaming services, and I just couldn't bring myself to to spend the money to rent it this weekend. Also, I had other stuff going on this weekend. But I do plan to watch Salvation because from what I've heard, that's it's an underrated one that's better than people give it credit for. So I am going to check that one out. I'm also I've been very proud of myself as I've been slowly working my way through the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is because the show's only 2 seasons long. So once it's done, and you don't get to, never get to have the first time again.
I like that.
So I'm slowly working my way through it on purpose. I'm also going through I go through these phases where my ADHD really, really kicks in, where it's I'll start watching something and then 5 minutes later I'm like, ew, no. And then I do that for 3.5 hours where I go through just everything I think I'm gonna sit down and watch, and then I eventually settle back on.
Sucks.
Not sucks. It's because I can go back. A month will go by, and I'll go back and rewatch that show, and it'll be great. but it's just like in that moment, I can't bring myself to settle down, concentrate, and pay attention to what I'm paying attention to. And then the shows that end up speaking to me at that time always end up being the weirdest of the bunch. I did watch, I rewatched like Great British Castles or something this weekend.
Great British Castles.
It was like a Netflix thing about like castles in the UK. Okay. Like.
Do you watch Everything is Cake?
I don't watch any shows like that. Like, if anything, I would like to, like, I love the idea of travel and cooking shows because they're so inoffensive. And
they are,
like,
until they're offensive.
Exactly. Like
Great British Baking Show got in trouble for cultural appropriation.
I did love Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives back when it was the thing. My mom loved that show.
Watch some old Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah. My mom loved Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, so I like it because my mom liked it. So it's like a weird connection there.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna move on, guys. Tell us about Taylor Swift, Mary.
Yeah.
You have to tell us because there's so much lore.
There is too much, but don't worry, I'm going to inform you on all of it. So we already talked about it last month when Taylor Swift and her now ex-fiance Joe Alwyn split up after 6 years of being together. We speculated as to why that happened, and ultimately came to the conclusion that she probably either wanted to get married and he didn't, or he wanted to get married and she didn't. So they split ways. And now,
hate it when that happens.
In Taylor Swift fashion, she's found a rebound. And she always does this, and it's like, I can't believe that her fan base doesn't at this point connect the dots that it's always her fault when her relationships fall apart like this, because I don't think it's normal to, after 6 years of being with somebody, to move on from them in a month. She's in a new relationship with Matty Healy, who is the lead singer of the 1975. We've talked about him before because he has gotten in trouble for a lot of problematic comments that he's made. And a lot of her fans, Taylor Swift fans, are mad because of Matty Healy's problematic past. And it looks like she is going into her problematic white boy era.
I'm telling you, she's gonna go like,
she's like going for the bad boys.
She's already had a villain era. Now she's going through her like trauma era where she's gonna date nothing but men that are horrible for her.
Is she gonna become problematic by proxy of dating Matty Healy?
I love the idea instead that what Matty Healy makes her realize is that finally he actually is the problem, and every other, like, he's the one who finally helps her realize that she was the problem before.
She's what, 31 at this point? You've had a prolific dating life.
She needs to learn how to just not be in a relationship.
For over a decade at this point. Very long time of dating, and many long-term relationships and short-term relationships, all of which have ended, and you're hot. I think your personality is rancid in that case. But
also, like, I think I don't think it's unfair to point out, like, the size of a career like hers would play a huge role in your ability to find a success, to make a successful relationship work.
But at some point, you then logically have to recalibrate your priorities in life.
Well, she's not willing to do that.
Because you can't, at some point as Taylor Swift, you cannot soar to any greater heights. But anyway, this says, first report from The Sun, a source close to Taylor said, she and Matty are madly in love. It's super early days, but it feels right. They first dated very briefly almost 10 years ago, but timing didn't work out. Taylor and Joe actually split up back in February. We thought it was last month. So there was absolutely no crossover. This I dispute because she worked with Matty Healy on her album as early as fall last year. Okay. So they probably maybe rekindled their romance while Taylor was still in her relationship with Joe Alwyn. And then she made an appearance at a 1975 concert, actually two of them in London back in January when she was still with Joe Alwyn, which could possibly bolster that theory. And then another report that I just saw from Entertainment Tonight said that they are just seeing each other and just hanging out and seeing where it goes, which is
that even possible at that
weird.
tax bracket when you're that busy?
Or that age?
Like,
I feel like in your 30s, like you're either dating or you're not, right?
I mean, it's possible if you're in denial of like how much time you have left to
Very
make these
weird.
types of things work.
And Taylor Swift fans, as you guys know, are like QAnon conspiracy theorists levels. They have found a clip of from following nights, like back-to-back nights on their respective tours, where they are mouthing a phrase at the cameras without the mic next to their face.
Yep.
They think that they're saying that it was like, I know, or what was it? It's like, this is for you, and you know who you are, and I love you.
They're basically QAnon. The people who watch this
let's
stuff.
play the video, because I think this was actually kind of clever if it was coordinated, because I see the words.
Are we gonna get copyright for that?
No.
Yeah.
That's pretty discernible, right?
And then she does the same thing. Yeah, they're QAnon level. The people who
Okay,
the
but
people who
that's-
do this.
They clearly were doing something.
Why would she be doing this for a guy she's been seeing for like a month? Why would she care that much? Why would either of them care this much? They've been together for like a month.
Well, it's either a PR thing that
That's
they're
what
not
I'm saying.
actually together,
It is a PR thing. Like
or
for her, when you've made your brand about who you're in a relationship with, it all becomes a form of commerce.
okay, but the question is like, what does Taylor Swift have to gain from dating Matty Healy? He's the one who gains everything. She gains nothing.
Yeah.
So this seems real to me, actually.
She's going through her bad boy
She
phase at
gains
33.
nothing from dating someone who has been in trouble for like racism, sexism, xenophobia, you name it. He's had the controversy.
Yeah, but like a decade later, she can just be like, "Oh my gosh, I was going through a rebound," and everyone's dated somebody bad when they're going through after a hard.
She could just
breakup.
claim it was abusive.
Yes, that's all she'll have to do later.
That's
on.
easy.
That's likely what will happen.
But yeah, this is exactly what they asked. If it is PR, what exactly would they get out of it? For Matty Healy, it's obvious he's way less famous than her. He gets a lot of fame from dating her, or from people thinking that they're dating when they're not. But for Taylor, does she get anything out of dating anyone? Because she's literally the most famous pop star right now and isn't going to leave that position anytime soon. I think that it's real. Did you see that they were miming the same phrase in the video?
Yes, I did.
I mean, come on, that's
like,
real.
the
Whether
amount-
they're dating for real or not, that was coordinated. You agree on that at the very least, right?
Yeah, because I
That was
buy that
coordinated.
anything to do with relationships is something she can use for her work.
So you don't think that they were just finding things?
Oh no, the QAnon. I
Like,
do
that's
think that her
real.
fan. I do
That was
think her fans
coordinated.
are. I do think her fans are QAnon level people that see stuff and everything. But yes, in this case, I
that
think
was
that right,
coordinated,
yeah.
a PR stunt, real, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, if it wasn't even a PR stunt and they just decided to do that because they think it's cute, that's really cringy, because they're like
I think she froze her eggs.
both in their 30s, and I don't think that's like something you do. If
I
you're
bet
not
you
a
she ends up.
teenager.
I bet you she ends up becoming the poster girl for in vitro.
Well, I was wondering, like, where did Elon Musk go? I thought that he was trying to slide into her DMs, but
They're both too busy.
he just got curved.
They're both too busy.
Is he gonna see Unog anytime soon? His baby with Amber Heard? Not confirmed.
Not
but,
confirmed.
like, he's the absent father. I bet she's frozen some eggs.
I
Yeah,
bet you
why
she ends
not?
up becoming the spokesperson for in vitro later on. And what's it called?
What?
Either in vitro or surrogate pregnancy.
I mean, that's what all celebrities are doing now. It wouldn't make her particularly interesting or unique for doing so.
Yeah.
It's just what's expected at this point.
Well, that's another reason why she doesn't feel in any rush.
She would be celebrated more for having a sperm donor baby than for starting a family and getting married.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Like that's really, really sad. That's like, oh, you both got your career and got a family. You did everything that the feminists tell you is possible.
Yeah. So recently, Matty Healy was also spotted at her Nashville show over the weekend. She did like 3 nights of her Eras tour in Nashville, which means that the entire city of Nashville right now is just out of commission. Like, I would not envy people living there right now, because you can imagine it's just Swifties everywhere.
Well, look, like I said earlier, I haven't been tweeting that much lately, but I tweeted this weekend or this morning. I said Taylor Swift is an absolute Chad because look, she had to. There was like a 4-hour delay on this concert, and while Shawn Mendes and everyone's like, "Oh my God, I'm not feeling very well. I don't think I can do this tour." She did a 45-song show that went till 2 a.m. because she's apparently the only one left with any balls in Hollywood. And
she's incredibly hardworking.
she's like, well, that's what I'm saying.
Psychotically so.
How can you have a really expect this lady to start a family and to be in a meaningful relationship when you have that much work to do? It's not realistic.
You don't have to, though. She could stop working anytime
But
she
that's
wants
never
to.
going to happen. That's never going to happen.
Because of her mental illness.
It's
not like she's held at gunpoint. She does not have to work anymore.
I don't know, but like there are absolutely probably contracts that are going to keep her working for a certain amount of years.
What are they going to do?
She signed
Sue
the
her?
contracts, and then she has to pay out on those contracts. She's
So
not gonna
what? She
pay out
has
on it.
endless money. She has the option to stop tomorrow if she wanted to.
That's a great idea, but it's not how
It's not
people
going to
work.
happen because she's mentally ill.
And then,
but
well, no, and then people are gonna say like, look, I've been working for you for a decade, so she want to. But they're not gonna phrase it as like you want to quit working. They're gonna phrase it as you put all of these other people out of work.
I guess, but then again,
And we talk
what
about
are
the
actual
guilt. We talk about the
consequences
guilt
for
of
her?
white women in America all the time. The guilt would be laid on strong to her.
What are the actual consequences?
It's not about whether there's actual
You know.
consequences. It's about whether the threat of the consequences is enough to keep her working, and I think it is. On top of the fact that there's just feminist ideology that's baked into society right now that makes to her like, why would I even want to quit working? Why would I want to start a family?
I think she does want those things, but Joe Alwyn didn't want it with her.
Womp womp.
That
womp.
was the theory, a fan theory. I saw a lot of angry tweets from Swifties. One said, "This picture is so funny to me." They were like in the car on the way to her condo, because you know that their PR teams told them to do this to redirect attention from the video of them buying meth.
What?
I love fake news. Matty and Taylor worded the exact same thing. Something is up. Like at this point, it's a little over the top because they both know every move is going to be analyzed. Once again, that was coordinated. I don't know if they're actually dating, but it was coordinated.
Yep.
This is so gross. How could she be with someone as horrible as him after fighting against half the horrible things he's said? It's so weird. What are the horrible things that Matty Healy has said? Basically, I tried to find the evidence, and I didn't find it. In this Slate article, it said that he's made racist and insensitive tweets about Black Lives Matter. And when I investigated this, he actually endorsed Black Lives Matter. He said that this was back in the Summer of Love. He said in a tweet, "If you truly believe that all lives matter, you should stop facilitating the end of Black ones." And then in that tweet linked to one of his songs called "Love It If We Made It." And everyone got mad because he was self-promoting. And then he deleted that tweet and then claimed that he only linked the song because he thinks it has lyrics that are relevant to racial issues. And then he followed it with another tweet of the same message and then tweeted again with another link to his song. And people were like,
maybe what they're really saying
"You're doubling down."
Maybe what they're really saying is he should have never had that Ben Shapiro TV on the screen at his concerts.
Well, he's made a lot of political messaging with his shows, and like, from what you're referring to, I don't know if you wanted to explain that, but he has done like push-ups in front of TVs that are playing Ben Shapiro videos at his concerts. He's eaten raw meat. He's made a lot of
maybe he should do like a
statements about masculinity and feeling like a pawn to the left. He said that this the standard of never making a mistake is one that an entire generation has set up for themselves. The problem with Gen Z is that they've set up a moral standard that they can't even live up to. They're starting to realize that as they're getting into their mid-20s. When you're an idealistic 18 or 19-year-old, sure, but you will make mistakes, hurt people, you will do things that some people will perceive as rotten. It's this standard that I'm trying to break down. I'm just a bloke, so are you. No one's fooling anybody. And he said that he has felt like a pawn of the left that's had to prove how woke he is and how anti-racist he is. But he said, I refuse to comment on the morally obvious. I'm not proving that I'm not racist. I'm not proving that I'm pro-women. I'm not proving that I'm on the left.
Because you can't prove it to their standard anyways.
I've done that game. I've done the work. I'm not interested in any insinuation that I am bigoted or racist or sexist for the enjoyment of someone on the internet. You know they hate that.
Yep.
When you say that you're not going to do the song and dance of like performative wokeness for them. So I don't think that this actually makes him a bad person. I think he's way too smart to be with Taylor Swift anyway, because she's performatively woke all the time.
Make for hilarious conversations between the two.
I also sent you that clip from her documentary from 2020 where she's like screaming at her dad about how she wants to be politically outspoken and is for some reason as a 30-year-old woman asking him for permission to do so.
Involved with politics.
That's not on the screen.
Yeah, but
we've not got involved with politics or religion.
Yeah, but this is on the home front. And also, back in the presidential election, I was in such a horrendous place that I wasn't going to pop my head out of the sand for anything.
Why would you? I mean, does Bob Hope do it? Did Bing Crosby do it? Does Mick Jagger do it?
Hell? Come on.
No, what I'm saying right now is
Women ruining society.
See, the way that they're triangulated right now, where it's her and it's Taylor Swift and her mom against her dad,
who's giving like the most basic, like good advice you could possibly give someone. Don't get involved.
She continues.
First of all, these aren't your dad's celebrities and these aren't your dad's Republicans.
At a fair point. So it's MAGA Republicans that she's complaining about here.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we came to you and said, hey.
Which is funny too, because by today's standards, the Republicans of that era would be considered even worse than the ones now because the Overton window has shifted so far.
All her dad is saying is that becoming politically outspoken could alienate a lot of her audience that she's courted over the years by starting out in country music.
Yep.
And she's like, shut up, Dad. You don't know me. Yep. You don't know my story.
And he was instrumental in starting her career, so it's not like he doesn't have any intelligence on the matter.
No. Yeah. She just is like a 14-year-old that just had their political awakening and actually doesn't know
It's not a phase, Dad.
It's literally that.
Yep.
But yeah, I just I don't know if I believe that this is a real relationship yet. But there's got to be some reasoning behind it.
I can't think of any.
This isn't good for her PR.
No.
Point blank, period. If it is a PR fomance,
he must be fantastic in bed.
Like, so you agree that it's not a PR relationship then?
I don't know what I don't care. I think that the most interesting part about it is that any relationship from now on will be a PR move for her. That there is no such thing as a truly wholesome relationship for her unless it's literally kind of like the Dolly Parton thing where she married a contractor who nobody knows or could pick out of a lineup.
Okay, so you're saying that for Taylor Swift or anyone at her level, that the idea of her having a real relationship versus a PR relationship is a false dichotomy.
Only because she's made a career out of bad relationships being part of her tandem in addition to her songwriting. So because relationships play such a strong central component in her business model, I don't know if you can have a real relationship. There's too much financial incentive for it to go bad or for there to be any amount of interest paid to it at all. The only way I could buy that it wasn't financially motivated or some type of PR stunt is if it wasn't as if literally and not just like, oh, I can't tell you about him. It has to be the type of thing where she goes to the people at the interviews and she goes, I won't talk about it at all. This cannot be put out even as a question. Because if you even make it a question where it's like, ooh, you have a mysterious boyfriend. Who is he? That's still PR. Mm-hmm. Right? And now, if she said before the interview, no, I will not talk about him. It's none of your business. keep it out your mouth, as Jada Pinkett Smith would say, or as Will Smith would say, right? So if she did that, I could buy that it's not PR. But until then, all of it's PR and all of it's fake.
She's probably doing it to bring attention to her new album.
Yes.
Which it's not a new album. It's her re-release of Speak Now.
Yeah. All right. We got one super chat there. Let's do that.
Deuce Boogaloo said, do y'all like my new handle? I shed the Clef the Misfit moniker to match my Twitter. Brett, do you get the movie reference of it, not the Breakin' one?
Are we talking about Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo? I'm assuming that's what we're talking about for Deuce Boogaloo.
Then it's...
Yes. From the movie Deuce
Electric
Bigelow.
Boogaloo.
Yes, and Electric Boogaloo.
Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
But also Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. All right. You guys want to do a BuzzFeed quiz with us?
It's not a quiz. It's just a harmless listicle.
We're going to talk listicles today. It says, it looks like it was filmed in dirty mop water. People are sharing what they can't stand about modern movies and what they miss about old cinema. Well, do tell us, BuzzFeed. Tell us all about all the things that people love and miss about cinema. They say
I like
a lot
that this is all like the most apolitical things that we can all get behind.
See, pet peeves, movies that are product advertisements. Nope, love it. Michael Bay does it all the time. I want to see large cans of Mountain Dew flying over the heads of main characters with the logo conspicuously visible. Like I said,
but now it's done so, like, I don't know, they try to pass it off from you. They try to hide it from you.
I was explaining that one time,
sight.
the one of the episodes of The Glades where the guy's like really awkwardly holding the Reese's Pieces
At
in front of
least
him.
when it's an example like that, then you know what you're getting sold, right?
Yes.
Versus how they do it now, which is like hiding things in plain sight. I don't like that.
My other favorites are, okay, a lot of the shows like would do things where like if they got sponsored by a car company, they would have a thing where the main character would like, for some reason in an episode, it would show them using like the on-set navigation and show them punching it in. I'm like, this is not...
Or on Hawaii Five-0 when they would constantly use the tablets at crime scenes.
Yes, but not just that, also the car. His Chevy, he drives the Chevy, and then Max, the guy who runs the medical examiner, also gets one, but in a different color. Also, they did these hilarious subway spots where Kamakona, the guy who owns the shrimp truck, would eat Subway. And he would say, and they would literally tell you what types of subs he was eating, and the fact that he would get a foot long for only $5.99 or something like that. Yes, it was the greatest thing ever.
I don't remember that.
It was just such blatant product placement that I can't even be mad. But yes, they would always use the Cisco tablets or the Skype. They'd have Skype, and it would say Skype in the bottom corner. On Hawaii Five-0, Hawaii Five-0 had hilarious product
This is
advertisements.
ironic. What we miss, good old rom-coms.
No, you don't, because that's straight white people, and you can't do that anymore. No more straight white rom-coms.
The
Can't
example photo is even straight white couple.
Yep, can't do that anymore.
The woman is holding an Evian water bottle, so that's a product placement right there. But it's partly due to BuzzFeed that we aren't going to have good old rom-coms anymore because of all of the content that they have churned out into the ether about hating men.
Yep.
So thanks for ruining everything for us, BuzzFeed.
In the chat, somebody says, this is PCC's BuzzFeed era. We're in our BuzzFeed era.
Pet peeve is remakes.
Well,
they even put Halle Bailey here as one of the examples, which is crazy to me. Like, that's woke dogma. You're not
step
out of line on that.
The other one is
we need to stop remaking movies from the past 30 years. Disney is making a live-action version of Lilo and Stitch that no one asked for. It's completely pointless and a total cash grab.
These are the same people who have been saying, take that, you incel, to everybody who have been complaining about remakes. They're just mad now because they're remaking the stuff you like.
The same people who are writing the headlines that are like, we just found out that they're making a live-action Lilo and Stitch, and we're living for it.
We're like totally living for it.
Hand-drawn animation.
Yes. Well,
are we gonna have that anymore? Is AI going to?
No, I mean it's gonna. I think for the most part, it would cost too much and take too much time.
We're just losing all of the Soul.
This one is a bit of a one I agree with, but at the same time, these are the same people who are also super woke, which is, it says pet peeve, the use of big names over voice actors for these roles.
And they did put Mario, the Mario movie, as an
Chris Pratt.
example because of Chris Pratt. But also
Anya
Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach makes zero sense.
And Jack Black is...
Jack Black would make sense because he's actually a good voice actor. The other two have... They were just using their normal voices. There was no stylization to it at all. It makes no sense.
In the chat, Andrina says they're trying to save BuzzFeed from becoming BuzzFeed News and Vice. Yeah.
BuzzFeed News is already going under, right?
Yep.
No longer around.
Non-spoilery trailers.
That I don't really care about.
One of the biggest complaints that they've had for Hollywood for a long time is that they spoil movies with the trailer, meaning that they just put too much of the movie in there. And what you can usually tell is if the movie seems like it's showing you too much, it's because it doesn't have enough to offer. Like if a movie's really, really good, they don't need to give you a super detailed trailer.
If the trailer is 3 minutes of the movie, they're showing you the only good 3 minutes they made.
No, because the Oppenheimer trailer was 3 minutes long, and I have complete faith that movie's going to be amazing.
Well, that was less of the screen time. It showed other things.
And it's also going to be 3 hours long, so or close to
3 hours long.
I think so.
That's another pet peeve that comes up later here.
Yep.
Animal deaths and jump scares in horror movies.
I mean, they do look no, because we are in a society now that's so jaded that people are like, I don't like people, I like animals. So they know that the ultimate way to garner sympathy is a la the John Wick route, which is you kill the dog and you're automatically on the side of the person whose dog was killed.
That's providing John Wick with his moral alibi.
Yes.
But in a horror movie, I don't think that I've seen many like animal deaths.
Well, they're talking more, I think for horror movies, they're talking jump scares, not animal deaths.
Jump scares, I would prefer to like lingering dread because I hate.
Really?
Yeah, like lingering dread horror movies are.
I mean, jump scares are just annoying because it's like, because of the way they have to be shot, you can always tell when they're coming.
Exactly. That's why I like them. So I can prepare myself.
In the way the music comes in. So.
Less fidgety fight scenes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of John Wick, right? When before shaky cam was a big thing, we liked action scenes that were shot wide with very stable shot. Like I rewatched V for Vendetta recently, and I loved the action scenes in V for Vendetta. So. Mm-hmm.
John Wick was really fun to watch.
Yep. I mean,
that's me engaged, and I'm not usually an action person at all.
And that's because visually you understand what's going on screen. For all the things I love about the Jason Bourne movies, I have to take like a motion sickness meds before I watch it because of all the shaky cam. Mm-hmm. It's just not good.
Pet peeve: movies being excessively crude just for the sake of being edgy.
I can't believe they even said this.
I can't either.
Did you write this? Did you write this, Mary?
Did I infiltrate BuzzFeed?
Mary
Am I the mole
Mary
at
is a secret BuzzFeed employee confirmed.
No denying plenty of bad, dumb movies were made in the old days, but somehow they were able to turn out complete, interesting stories that were 70 to 90 minutes long, largely inoffensive and suitable for most ages. I don't enjoy movies padded full of cursing, drug use, bodily function humor, and naked humping, especially when it's 45 minutes of plot dragged out to 2+ hours. Why isn't there anything between kiddie movie and crude and edgy anymore? Totally agree.
There is. They're called blockbuster superhero movies.
But that's a kiddie movie.
To
answer the question, that is a kiddie movie.
Well, I'd like to know what do they qualify as a kiddie movie? Are they talking this or are they talking Minions?
I mean, the Mario movie quite literally is aimed at children.
Yes. Well, but a superhero movie is still a PG-13 movie only because of the visuals.
They can't even decide what they are.
Yeah.
Like Thor: Love and Thunder has a bunch of needless cursing that I wouldn't want a small kid to be exposed to.
Yeah.
But at the same time has so many childish elements like the immature humor that it doesn't make sense for adults either.
Yeah.
We're all just very like confused right now with the tone.
It's for the protracted adolescence of it's for adults. It's just for adults who haven't grown up yet.
Simple storylines.
Look, this is what I mentioned a show called Private Eyes recently with Cindy Sampson and Jason Priestley. And that's because it is a very simple will they, won't they. It's a very fun show. She's a private detective. He's like a retired hockey player who can't seem to find anything that works for him after his career falls apart or whatever. And he gets a job and he becomes basically her apprentice and to become a private investigator. And the whole show is basically just bathtub, will they, won't they? Oh, they so clearly like each other, but it's so simple. And you just don't see stuff like that anymore that's that wholesome. And I'm all for simple and wholesome.
Yeah. But in movies, do you see the same trend?
I mean, let's look back at what we watched in the past year. Most of the movies we've watched seem like they were fairly easy to follow.
Not for me. I feel dumb
like
when I watch some of these
most of the movies we can tell where they're going. I would say that Amsterdam was a little bit meandering.
Well, that was meandering. I understood vaguely where it was going, but I think especially with like some of the Marvel movies, because of the multiverse thing, that theme, like I do get lost.
Well, I mean, that's
and it's
different,
not because
though.
it's a highly intellectual Memento Inception type of movie. Like, it's just because it's a stupid, garbled mess.
It's just because you haven't had to, like, you're going into it without having seen all of the previous material, therefore it doesn't
But
all
I
make
should
sense
be
to you.
able to. You know what I mean? That's my point.
What they don't realize is that people are supposed to be, like when I watch you can watch the X-Files movie having never seen an episode of the X-Files and still like it.
And any episode of the X-Files out of order is still a suitable entry point.
Not all of the,
in my opinion,
not all of the mythology episodes are that way. I would disagree with that. But the Monster of the Week episodes, I mean, that's like in this video that I've been working on, where I'm pitching a show to people. One of the strong reasons that I mention it for the show that I'm talking about, I said, like, look, this show becomes serialized down the line, but when it starts out as just good episodic television, meaning that you can cut in at any point, and that's what Burn Notice did so well. That's what White Collar did so well. There are overarching plot elements, but for the most part, you can watch any one of those early season episodes and you can come away having watched a good story that was entertaining. Mm-hmm. And that's a lost art in Hollywood right now. Because everything's made for streaming now. Everything's made with the intent that, it doesn't matter if we don't wrap this storyline up because they're just going to let it autoplay into the next episode.
True.
So,
pet peeve, unequal marketing for movies.
Explain that one.
Years of marketing for blockbuster superhero movies and Disney live actions, whereas smaller movies don't get as much marketing pushes, so they're kind of doomed to bomb from the start. But this is about budget. It's not about
this. Well, this is their
fairness.
like utopian thinking.
Yeah,
here,
that's not about fairness.
No, it's got, but they think it is because to them it's all they have the brains of children. They don't understand that's not how it works.
Also, generally, like the movies that cost less to make also cost less to market.
Yeah. Well, everyone wants to have their hit of Joker, which cost $50 million to make and made $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how this works.
What we miss, the lighting, where you could actually see the film.
Well, that's unfortunately that is a side effect of the CGI era because it's easier to CGI in the dark.
The example here was the new live action Little Mermaid, of course, because every still that I've seen from that movie and the trailers as well look terrible.
Yep.
And it's because when you go from animation to live action, you take all the expressiveness away and the fun away, and like the fact that this is not real and that it's a fantasy away, and then you make the character who is an anthropomorphic crab into a crab. Like it's just not cute anymore. And the lighting is shit. Like I don't actually want to see this movie as if they're at the bottom of the ocean.
Which makes sense for a movie that's supposed to be scary, which should make the bottom of the ocean look scary.
Right, exactly.
But that's not this.
But this is supposed to be for kids.
Can't she put up some LED lights down there or something?
It just looks bad.
Also, the lighting underwater during
Wait, what?
Black Panther 2 was the same.
Really?
Don't you remember? Like the lighting in it was a little bit more neon, but not very light either.
Yeah.
And in the chat, they're saying Buffy was a great mix of both. Yes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a fantastic mix of both episodic episodes and episodes that you have to pay attention to. Yep.
Pet peeve: splitting up a movie into multiple parts.
That part does. Okay, look, if
milk the audience for more money.
No,
it's never necessary and never improves the story.
BS. Okay, there are plenty of stories that you're going to get complained about later if you miss too many important elements of a book. I would argue that as much as they maybe didn't need to make all of the Harry Potter movies like they did the last one in 2 parts, book 4 needed to be 2 parts. I'm sorry, Goblet of Fire should have been 2 movies. It should not have been one movie.
People are going to complain no matter what because you're going to miss things.
And if you don't, so either it's you make it too many movies and you're milking a cash cow, or you didn't include all of the materials and you're not being faithful to your adaptation. So pick your problem. I would rather take the problem where you get more of the original material and you have to go to 2 movies. And that's not just because Mortal Kombat Dead Reckoning is coming out soon and that's going to be in 2 parts.
I mean, a lot of people complained that there needed to be more Harry Potter movies.
C2 Gaming says, isn't that a function of seasons being too long? Stargater like that. Look, I have a superpower. I do. What? I can just quit. I can watch 1.347 of a season and I just quit. And I don't give a crap. Like, I will watch a show for exactly as long as it takes me to be, as long as I'm entertained. And if I'm done, I don't care if it's 3 episodes before the finale.
You don't feel a sense of obligation or a sense of completionism.
If there's 3 episodes left in an entire season and I don't care anymore, I will just stop. I do not need to finish it. I don't care. So it's like, I love a lot of those 22 episode seasons of shows. And I actually think that's a testament to how good those shows were written back then. Because if you can keep my attention for 22 episodes of individualized episodes, what does that say about the person who can't keep my interest for 6 episodes of something that's all supposed to be one story?
They were also shorter episodes. I hate this trend where each episode of a show is like an hour 15. Like, I am not ready to commit to that.
42, like that was the one thing that I liked about Citadel's first 2 episodes was that they were only 42 minutes.
We need intermissions. Thoughts?
Yes.
I'm looking at you, James Cameron.
Yes. I'm actually okay with that. So let's do it. How long does the intermission have to be? 5 minutes?
I mean, as long as they keep making movies 3.5 hours long, or like somewhere between 2.5 and 3.5 hours long, I think we should have one.
Okay, so here's another, like C2 Gaming points out, he says, I'm going back to the previous part of the conversation here. He says, Stargate has a great community-made list that removes all the fillers. Hold on, it just moved here. That removes all the filler episodes. I loved it this way, and I don't need to see the rest. I actually, like, that's good for people who have already seen it the whole way through and want a short cut to get through the episodes that they don't need to watch again. But I don't like the idea. They did the same thing. Kumail Nanjiani did the same thing where he was only reviewing episodes of the X-Files for his podcast that he liked. That makes sense. But he pitched it in a way that was like, you don't need to watch these other episodes. Like, no, because some of the episodes he skipped were episodes I loved. So why would I want to take another person's word for what is the right episode to watch or the right episode to skip? You should watch it yourself and then make that decision. I wouldn't rely on a list like that as a guide for an episode, for a show, just because it's got a lot of seasons. I would watch it all, watch up until you're bored, and then quit like me, like a psychopath. But like, don't just skip episodes in between, like because then you're at the mercy of somebody else's taste, which might be vastly different than yours.
Yeah. Another pet peeve was enemies to lovers trope. I am tired of seeing female characters just be total bitches.
And the men are like, oh my God, I love the way she's
like,
she's a dick to me.
Yeah, he's like simping even harder because she's mean to him. There are guys like that in real life, but they don't pull.
That's like the guys like that who do that are like in these movies. It's so predictable. No.
And he's like a total Chad, but he loves being degraded. It's just really weird.
It'll never make sense.
Hollywood's
to me.
weird.
Thank you. But they do that all the time, and it's just an excuse for women. They're doing that kind of in Citadel. Like, look, Priyanka Chopra's acting like a can't say that word on air.
C word.
Yes, she's not a very nice person. She's not even a bad person. She's just not a very, like, nobody in the real world wants to talk to someone who's that grating and that emotionally, like, cold.
Well, specifically women. For the enemies to lovers trope, at least it's like both parties
are mean to each other.
Yes. But my pet peeve was like when only the girls get to do it.
It's like the reason people love the show Chuck is because Chuck is like, she's also very clearly into him and fighting it, even though because he's a nerd. He's a nerd who works at the local Buy More, and she is a spy, a beautiful spy, and he wears like his untucked white shirt with the tie, and she's got all of these emotions. She's got these problems of being emotionally distant, but it's played in a way on that show where it's like she's emotionally distant because of her past and the way her profession requires her to be, but she's fighting it against these feelings that she clearly has for this dude. More of that, less of this garbage that they're pitching.
Mm-hmm. Practical effects.
Yes, everyone knows that practical effects are far superior. And get rid of the CGI blood. I am so sick of CGI blood. Squibs, go back to blood squibs.
You're obsessed.
Yes.
They compared Jurassic Park to Jurassic World. Thoughts? Which one looked better?
Jurassic Park. Of course.
I think that's obvious
yes,
to everybody.
Obviously.
Pet peeve, shaky cam. Obviously, we already covered that.
Yep.
With Jason Bourne in the GIF. Good erotic movies.
That will never be made again either because they'll all be problematic.
Ever since 50 Shades of Grey landed in the zeitgeist, there have been no good erotic films. It always is some strange murder mystery like Gone Girl. That's an erotic film for you? God forbid Serenity, not the Firefly film. Bring back the days of Basic Instinct, Wild Things, Palmetto, and Bound.
Well, they just put a Fatal Attraction series on Paramount Plus. You can go watch that.
Well, we live in a sexless society, so
you're
never going to see that.
Can you? Okay, somebody asked before. How do you define the term sexless? Like, when you say sexless, what do you mean?
Oh my gosh. I just I say that based on my intuition. Honestly, I don't like have some
your
kind
interpretation of a person's personality.
Yeah, like Taylor Swift. When I look at her, I just think like, there's no way you're able to reproduce.
She just doesn't budget the time for it. She's like, yeah, sex would be great, but I'm busy.
She could very well have a hysterectomy.
No, like I could see that as something where it's like literally she's such a robot about her career that she's like, I would certainly love to have sex, but I'm booked until Friday.
I think that the influence of birth control and abortion, which is treated as birth control, that remove all the risk from having sex in society anymore. That has made sex sterile and boring in a lot of ways. And there you have to inject the 50 Shades of Grey, the BDSM, all of the accoutrement until it's just unrecognizable from its natural form.
And what is the real pull of an erotic thriller when there's so much degrading sexual content that's posted for like I said, Euphoria is degrading in a lot of ways, right?
Yes.
So it's like, what is the pull of
and even weirder because it's about kids.
That too. But also think like, for something like this, back when these were made, we may be a sexless society, but we're not a more moral society. So a repressed 1980 sexually repressed 1980s America, still in the throes of a Catholic majority, plays very differently to a movie like Basic Instinct than it would today.
Sure.
So that makes more sense.
By the way, we never had a Catholic majority in this country.
I'm saying that those beliefs were still prevalent.
A Christian or Puritan.
Yes, I'm sorry, but you understand what I'm saying. A more religiously influenced society than we have now.
But then it's like, what do you have to rebel against anymore?
Yeah.
Everything is all out in the open.
Yep.
And that's when you get like polyamory and all of this other gross stuff. Pet peeve, barely being able to hear the dialogue.
You leave Christopher Nolan out your mouth.
We have talked about this at length. The dialogue, volume, and enunciation can be pretty bad in modern movies. My hearing is fine, yet the dialogue can be so quiet in certain movies and enunciated so poorly. I literally have no idea what's being said, regardless of how much I turn up the volume. Thank God for subtitles.
There it is, the Gen Z obsession with subtitles.
Or is it an attention span thing?
I mean, I think it could be a little bit of both.
Campy action movies. Are we ever going to get a James Bond back? They claim it's too Americanized. We've got a super chat from High Voltage 75. I have a theory about people like Taylor. She's reached a point where she's become addicted to all the adulation, and she fears that it will go away if she stops working. No room for a real relationship.
Well, and thank you for the super chat. Also, guys, we're getting close to a crisis party. I have a special Alec Baldwin crisis party sound effect this week. I'm so excited for people to hear it.
Oh, this is fun.
Yes. But like, look, how does it go? Like, if you're Taylor Swift and every night you step on stage and 50,000 people scream for you, how does a person compete with that? It's very hard to compete with that in a society that puts as much as much influence on the importance of being shown adulation through social media.
The problem is that all of those fans think that they know her, and they talk about, like, you know, this isn't the Taylor that we know and love, but they don't know her. So I think like the adulation that she receives from them is shallow at the end of the day, and she knows that deep down, and it's not fulfilling.
But in that moment, when you're on stage, like pro wrestlers talk about this all the time. They say there is no feeling in the world like being in front of a live audience that's cheering for you. There's nothing like it. And if you're at a level like hers, sure, you might be jaded a little bit, but I could absolutely see you getting addicted to the feeling of it.
Yeah, I agree. But I think at the end of the day, it's not fulfilling, and that she will be searching and pondering for something else.
It's, I mean, maybe, but at the same time, then that's almost like a trap, right? So you're searching for something else, and none of these men are matching up to it or matching the hype. Nobody's bringing you that feeling that you were feeling before.
I'll tell you, nobody is in this many failed relationships because they're a hopeless romantic. It's because you have severe personality issues.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with loving to perform. Like
No.
She loves her job, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I don't think you should love your job so much that you can't be in a stable, functioning relationship.
If she doesn't want that, though, that's not our business.
What is that?
But the problem, like, if she doesn't want that, though, that's not our business. But she's
I'm
also
saying
made
that
it
as a generalization.
Yeah, and she's made it like it would be one thing if that was how she felt and all her music wasn't based on it, but all her music is based on relationships.
Yeah, and it wasn't. You can argue it's not profitable to be in one relationship for 6 years. That's what she did.
Yep.
Even though her reputation is anything but that stability. Yep. So they said what we miss is campy action movies, and
I'm with them.
They said there's no charm left to the James Bond franchise. Well, the Roger Moore era will always be the best simply because it didn't take itself too seriously and wasn't afraid of being silly.
I think that Pierce Brosnan found a perfect middle ground between, especially once they got into the gadgets a little bit more, but Pierce Brosnan was able to keep it serious without making it over the top serious. The current Bond, all of the stuff we've seen from Daniel Craig was all so damn depressing. It's all so depressing, and I don't need, but that's because they made him fall in love. I don't want James Bond to fall in love. Sorry, I don't. I want him to have sex with random women and go on missions with gadgets. That's what I want.
Yeah, stick to what works.
Yep.
Pet peeve: prequel, sequel, remake cycle.
Every time.
It's just like Richard Dreyfuss said. Yep. Sequels are death.
Yes,
he literally said that. What we miss: joke credits at the end. In like the late 80s, early 90s, it was common in comedies to add joke credits.
Oh, my favorite is I love when they would end a show on a
freeze frame.
A freeze frame.
Yeah.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 movie ended on a freeze frame. I love it.
Excessive and pointless vomiting. Not another teen movie is getting called out here.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of bodily function humor, but that's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's it.
All right. Look, they're right about most of these. It's just funny that they don't
why
get
BuzzFeed, though?
Why but like they're like uh-oh, we're about to get closed down too. We better go anti-woke.
Is it that?
I don't think so. I think what this proves here is that both sides don't realize that there's middle ground that we could all agree on.
Now, granted, they didn't mention in this list that political messaging in films is something that turns off mainstream audiences, which is true.
Yeah.
because
that
they're
would have been
BuzzFeed and they can't
that would
mention
have been
that.
that would have been a nice mention if they had mentioned that.
But this is a pretty extensive list, and I agree with most of the points that were made in it.
Oh, it looks like we did get a crisis party, so it will happen. I'm excited.
I'm ready to get
Thank you, guys.
abused by Alec Baldwin.
It's not too bad, but it's this one. This is the one where Kellen gets co-creator credit on this one because the certain parts were his idea that I went go, yes, that's fantastic. I think this list does prove that there's more middle ground there than people realize. That the things that we're sick of are the same things that a lot of other people are sick of who would never watch our content. Mm-hmm. Like the things that everyone dislikes are universal concepts that everyone can agree on. So, all right, we got a couple of super chats there.
C2 Gaming said, "Thanks for entertaining my opinion."
Well, thank you. Oh yeah, dude. Like I enjoyed reading that. Those were some good takes.
Derek Null said, "Hot take, my fave campy action movie is Last Action Hero."
Oh my god, I haven't seen that in so long. I need to rewatch Last Action Hero, and I need to rewatch Cliffhanger because they're making a Cliffhanger sequel soon.
DC and C said, "Come on, dude, Brosnan was in some terrible Bonds."
Well, that's like your opinion, man. For all its faults, Die Another Day was not a good movie. I still enjoy it because it's a campy action movie. It's just got horrible CGI, and it's not very good. I still enjoy it. Like, that's the thing. People get, like, there is nobody more willing to tell you that there's no way but the highway but the nerds. Like people on the internet, like meaning comic book nerds and stuff like that, and people in these spaces love to tell you what you're allowed to like and what you're not allowed to like. DC and DC, I'm not saying you. I'm saying that I was watching stuff this weekend. There was like an announcement that the show SWAT had been canceled, and it was just 9,000 comments of people being like, "Your grandma will be so angry," and they're like, and like 10,000 comments are like, "Who cares?" I didn't give up my Laker ticket. It's Mel Gibson too, and Alec Baldwin.
I wasn't able to make that. Ooh.
Bad one, Alec. Not good at all.
Okay, I literally only got Rude Little Pig and gunshots. I made out none of the rest of that.
The first part was was Mel Gibson when he got caught on the voicemail. Back in the day with the anti-Semitic rant and yelling at his wife.
Can you put that on YouTube?
I mean, I found the clips on YouTube, so yes.
Wait, what did he say in it?
Oh, I didn't play that part in there.
Okay.
I played just the part where he says, "I had to give up my Laker tickets," and I mixed it with the Bill Burr quote, referencing the same point when he said it in an old stand-up bit. But I've just noticed, I'm sorry guys, but there's a lot of people that want to tell you what you're allowed to like. Because they're like, "Oh, it's a bad movie. You're not allowed to like that," or somehow your opinion means less because you like some movie that's bad. I say no, BS. You're allowed to like whatever you want to like. There are people that like woke movies that we would hate. That's still their right to like those movies for their own reasons. That's the beauty of the subjectivity of art.
When people say you're not allowed to like that or you're not allowed to dislike that, what they really mean is just, I'm gonna give you a bunch of shit for it, which is your responsibility to ignore them.
But no, I actually disagree. No, there's a lot of people who will say it as fact. They will frame it as fact.
Okay.
Because they're taking a different lesson from, or they're making a different point. You're making a point that I like this movie. They're making a point that this is a bad movie. Plenty of people like bad movies, and that's okay.
Well, yeah.
It just means that either they want to yell at you, or they simply don't understand English and don't understand the context of what you're saying, or they're willfully ignoring it. Like when I say I love this movie, I don't want to have to contextualize every time. And I know that historically speaking, most of the critics and the audiences find this to be a less than enjoyable movie. That is my disclaimer for saying I like this movie. Kick rocks. I don't need to say that every time I want to tell you that I like a movie that other people don't like. Just me.
Go off, Brett. Spaghetti Warrior said, "Agreeing with Brett, how could you have a normal relationship with millions of people always praising and loving you? Big influencers will also feel this."
I mean, I guess the goal would be that you have to find something fulfilling in that relationship that can't be provided by those other people. But that also means that we need to stop looking at relationships as a means of finding someone that just makes us feel good and find the other aspects of a relationship that matter.
Thousands of people screaming your name and praising you and buying your merch and streaming your music is never going to give you the ability to have a family.
But we've divorced the connections between having a relationship and having a family, because so much of it now is about sex and not about actually building a life together.
DCNC said you're not allowed to like pop culture.
No!
Winky face.
Look, if anybody tells you that, you tell them they're wrong, and that you are in fact allowed to like Pop Culture Crisis, even if all I do every day is make people cringe.
I don't know if anyone hates us that much.
Is that like a badge of honor to be hated that much?
Do we have haters?
That would be there are haters. I'm sure there are plenty of haters. That's fine. But I guess you figure out the size of your reach by how many haters you have. So maybe one day we'll have more haters and we'll know we've done.
Yeah, we need the haters to step up their game.
Yep. All right, guys, before we go, thank you again so much. We are almost to 60,000 subscribers. So this is my reminder again. If you are not subscribed right now, go and subscribe to this channel and like this video if you have not done so already. We appreciate it very much. Turn the notification bell on once you subscribe to this channel. It's going to help us in the algorithm if you leave a comment on this video as well. So, Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or send me hate on Twitter. That is also Mary Archived.
Perfect. It's a very low-key day today.
It was.
Look, I thought one thing that I found to be true is that a lot of times we end up getting to the most interesting parts of discussions later in the show. Like, I never make the right points about a topic until like a super chat gets mentioned about it like a topic and a half later, and then I'm like, I wish I'd come up with that during that discussion point. I feel like we could have done this, like we could have framed the Taylor Swift thing as to like, what is the benefit of being in a relationship when you're that famous and you've got so much of your career riding on the fact that you make songs about men that disappoint you.
Well,
like she will be able to have a whole second half of her career when she makes an album about Maybe I'm the Problem.
I mean, she did that already.
Well, she's gonna have to do it again.
She said like she's the anti-hero.
Does she believe that, or is she just paying lip service? Do you think she actually believes? Do you think there's any actual introspection that's gone on there?
No,
not at all. It's all a business. All of it's a business, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic on both platforms. There's one more for you there. From Carnell.
It hasn't shown up for me.
Says, for Mary's Astro Boy Boot Fund.
Oh,
I also saw something. Oh, what did I see recently? I saw somebody did like they did Astro Boy boots, but they were like Timberlands. It was like Astro Boy Timberlands.
No.
It's awful. Very, very awful.
Still want my Astro Boy boots though.
You have to get a pair at some point.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Monday through Friday, this show is here, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. One more, Mary.
What? Cage the Mix said, best horror thrasher movie ever. You ready for this? Thanks, Killing.
I've never seen it.
Never heard of that.
Never seen it. All right. Are we done? Are we going to get interrupted anymore? You can keep interrupting me if you want. You guys can keep interrupting me. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are here Monday through Friday. If you'd like to listen to this podcast rather than watch, we are on Amazon Music. We're on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show. We are on Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis. And we're on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Later.